Hello there. It's February 2025, and we're here for our monthly Star Walking Skyforce Online. With me today is Troy. Welcome, Troy.
Hi Deb, how are you?
I am fantastic, little tired, but all good and excited to talk all things Star Wars. Now, Troy and I had a bit of a conversation. This is just letting everyone else know what we're going to be talking about today. And we thought, what'd be interesting is if we could talk about Star Wars ships. However, the idea that you came up with, Troy, was what are we going to do? Up to you. Let us know. What do you want to talk about today?
Oh, I wouldn't mind talking about the comparison between the Ghost and the Millennium Falcon.
See, when you first brought up that concept to me, I thought to myself, really? The Ghost and the Millennium Falcon, apart from the sequel movies, I was not aware and didn't consider that the two of them would cross paths or at any point. And so I thought, what is the point of doing the Ghost and Millennium Falcon? So we're going to look into why and how and what is the difference as we're talking today. And I've got a couple of people who are on chatting with us here. Hi, Gavin. Hi, Matthew. Hi, Noddy. Deb, you forgot my wake up call. That's very funny, but you're here anyway, Matthew. So well done. So we're going to get started. Let's start with what we've just finished the Skeleton Crew, and that's what we've been talking about for the last month or so. And you joined me for that, Troy, at some point. So let's talk about what are you watching now? And everyone else, what are you guys watching? We don't have the Skeleton Crew now. So what is it that you're looking at on the screen? What are you doing? How are you occupying your
Well,
time?
well, I might be blasphemy here. I'm actually watching Star Trek Discovery season 3.
Ah,
I'm sorry, but I don't mind a bit of Star Trek on the side. Star Wars is still my love, but
hey,
hey,
we're all allowed.
yeah, I still need to get my bit of sci-fi in. So yeah, that's what I'm watching.
Noddy's watching Rock Island Mysteries. Matthew started the prequels again, and welcome, David. I actually got into there's a TV show called Landman, and it has yeah, I know you're looking at me like, what's that about? It's about
Hmm.
mining in America, oil mining, and it has we always do this. I can't. I know the actor's name, and then when I go to speak about them, I can't remember what their name is. I can see them and I can't think of their name. Anyway, so I've gone back to this particular actor has done many series before, so I've gone back to watching one of his earlier one, which is called Goliath. Anyway, that's what which is yeah, that's what I've been watching. Just things that are not Star Wars related, which is odd. At least yours is sci-fi.
You said
One up for me.
Goliath. Are you saying Billy Bob Thornton?
Yes, yes,
There you go. I thought to help you out there.
yes, Billy Bob Thornton. So I thought I'd look at what else he does because I've watched Fargo. This Landman thing is really great. So and that's what I was doing. That's how I've been spending my time. And of course, I usually, as the usual, which is similar to what Matt says here, started the prequels again. I usually have Clone Wars on in the background when I'm doing my research or doing any paperwork. So that's always generally playing in the background. However, for this, we should have been watching Rebels, but we weren't. So, more fool us. Let's get going. Before we get into exploring the difference between the two, let's talk about some news and views for everyone. Get things that you may not already know or heard of. One of the ones that we have, which is a bit of sad news, which is that Gary Fisher, which is Carrie Fisher's dog. So she used to take him everywhere. It was like a support dog for her, has just recently passed away. He was going to turn 8, I believe, at the end of the month. And so that's a bit sad. Whilst Gary's not being in any movies, but he was well known and seen around the place, and so that's a little bit of sad news. Let's move on from the sad news because that's not real lots of fun. Uh, we've got a new logo.
Oh
Troy,
wow,
do you
yes.
like our logo?
I'm just having a look at it. Wow,
Well,
definitely stands out.
it does. So we've put it up on social media, and I'm curious, everyone who's in the chat, what your thoughts are, because I'd like to be able to put it on our merchandise, but I want to just check with everyone first what their thoughts are on that. Matt says, are there any more Star Wars movies cancelled this week? Not that I'm aware of. Troy, you know of any?
I heard they've got another new writer for the Ray movie, but
Okay.
that keeps on changing every week. So, but I haven't heard anything else other than that.
Okay. Oh, got some positives for the logo from Matt and Noddy. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. Very Australian. The other news I have is that this is no surprise to people. For those of you who find it difficult, yeah, good old drop bears, exactly, Gavin. For those of you who find it difficult to afford to buy even figures these days and some of the sets that they produce for Star Wars, it's a real challenge. Like some of those prices are ridiculous. And if you want to get something that is vintage from the original stuff, there was recently an auction and there were things are going for tens of thousands of dollars. I know I would struggle to be able to afford something like that to have in my collection. And then they introduced the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel, which was also quite expensive. I believe it was around $4,000 for a weekend. And unfortunately, it was not as popular as they had hoped. And it sounded amazing. You got to stay in a hotel. It was like you're immersing yourself in a Star Wars universe, and there was characters and there was a theme going on. Sounded great. Can't afford it. And so unfortunately, it flopped. However, they're going to use it to make it into offices for Walt Disney Imagineering, and those staff that are going to be working in those offices are then going to be doing the planning and the working towards improving Disneyland and all the different rides and things. So looking at how do we expand them. That's what their job is going to be. So they're going to live in the hotels and or work in the hotel and plan how to improve the parks. That's the change. That's my news.
Okay,
We
interesting.
Yeah, I guess it's not a big thing, but it's no surprise that it didn't go so well. We got some comments. Noddy says most of the writers in Hollywood are going to try writing the right movie. Hey, they should. And then just picks bits from all of them, and then I don't know, maybe. And yeah, it's way too pricey to go to the Galactic Star Cruiser, but you now can't ever do that because it no longer no exists. No longer exists. Oh, whatever. Right. Any other news? Troy, what do you got?
Yes, we've got another star going to Star Wars celebrations.
We do.
Miss Ahsoka Tano herself, Rosie O'Dawson.
So my understanding is the people who have bought tickets for Celebration, they have already been advised, the ticket window has opened, and there was about 6 or 7 uh, celebrities who were attending that you could get photo ops or autographs with, and some of them you could do it combined together. For example, you could do Tamura Morrison and oh gosh, what's young Boba Fett's name? Daniel Logan. You could do like a joint father-son photograph with them or autograph with them. Like there were, it's some kind of some fun things that people who are going to Celebration can do. And a lot of people were buying up their tickets straight away, whereas other people were being a bit more strategic and waiting to see if any other names had been announced. And then a week later, we hear that Rosie, oh my gosh, I can't speak. Rosario Dawson is now there as well, and we know that Ashley Eckstein is also there. So there's now going to be where you can do both of the girls as a photo op. So that's kind of cool for those who are going to Celebration.
Yes, it's let's just say I party that I'm going with. We've got a photo op with two celebrities that's already
Nice.
set up. Mm. So it's going to be Diego Luna and Alan
Ah, Tariq,
Paddock. Thank you.
K2SO.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I would like to do. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Nice.
Looking forward to
Expensive,
that.
but nice. All right, we've
Yeah,
got some.
you know what's Star Wars celebrations. Go do it once. Why not go all out?
Yeah, fair enough. That's the way it should be. Nick says, just came, was watering my garden as it's hot here in Melbourne. Yeah, I heard it's a bit of a heat wave down in Melbourne.
Ah,
And Gavin says, unless I win Lotto, I'll never get to a Star Wars celebration. Well, here's Fingers crossed that you'll win Lotto because everyone should have an opportunity to do something fun that they like and Star Wars positive, I think.
Agreed. Yep.
Let's move on to the theme of the month. So we're gonna Noddy would cosplay as SM33. That would be cool.
Yeah. Just get
Um,
the pirate accent going.
our he announced his name as oh Tudyk, Tudyk. Okay, Alan Tudyk. All right. Well, I'm going to continue calling him Tudyk because I'm sorry. I feel weird calling him Tudyk.
When you said that, I went, not a word choice.
You have to do that when you go and meet him. You say, "I've always wanted to meet you, Alan Tudyk."
I'll just say, hi,
Do it,
Alan.
do it, do
That's
it.
it. That's it. Yes.
What have we got here? Fairly next year, Hasbro and Lego will sell a lot of Mandalorian Grogu merchandise. You know, that's interesting, Nick. I was looking for something online today, and I saw a lot of Grogu stuff, and I thought to myself, I know that the movie comes out next year, and we've still got some time to wait. So it's around this time next year, the Mandalorian and Grogu movie will come out. I feel as though the Grogu merchandise has kind of flattened down. People aren't so excited because there's not as much in the media about Grogu. But yeah, welcome, Luke. Hello there. We've just been talking about a whole bunch of stuff. Apparently, how to pronounce Alan Tudyk, which is Tudyk. Uh, who would have thought? We're going to move on to the topic of this month, which is what is your favorite Star Wars ship? So, because we're going to look at the difference between the Ghost and the Falcon, but I'm curious, do people even care about those ships? Do you have a favorite ship? Do you have a favorite ship, Troy?
Between those two?
No, just in general.
Oh, in general, it had to come down to either Slave One or the B-Wing heavy assault fighter. I can't
Oh,
really tear myself between those two.
I should have
Um,
known the B wing because you were really keen on the B wings when we watched the Skeleton
yeah,
Crew. Yeah, all right.
yeah.
Yep.
But Slave One is you know it gets me there. Slave One. So, and I will call it Slave One and not Boba Fett's Starship. Sorry,
It is
sorry,
Boba Fett's
Disney.
starship. However, it's Slave One. That's its name.
That's right.
I'm curious to everyone else. Is there a better ship than Slave One? Because I have to agree. I can't even disagree or debate and say no, this one's better because I kind of that's my favorite too. Well, Luke says the Mantis or Ebon Hawk.
Oh, the Evan Hawke. Yeah, yep. The Mantis. Oh, I don't know the Mantis. Where's the Mantis from?
Oh. Luke, where is the Mantis from? Nick says when they release a film in their cinema, they release a lot to promote the film. Slave One. I'm not sure what that means. Okay, all right, moving on. So my
Oh,
question
I
is,
know the Mantis. Sorry, that's from Jedi Survivor.
oh, that's why I don't know it. I'm not a gamer. Apologize.
Yeah, yeah. I had to think for it. Yeah, I had to look it up, and then I realized I'm going. Of course, I should know that.
You
Yes.
hear them, but then I don't know which ones they are. Okay, so let's start. Jedi Fallen Order Cal Kestis ship. There you go. Yep, you're right. So the Ghost versus the Falcon. Now, what's interesting about this picture that I pulled out is that really doesn't look to scale because my understanding is that the Ghost is much larger than the Falcon, or am I wrong in that?
I can give you some stats if you wish.
I'd love
Um,
that.
okay, so let's start with the Falcon, of course. The original, the Falcon, at its cost is 100,000 credits. It's a modified YT 1300 light freighter. The dimensions is 34.52 length compared to the Ghost, which is 43.9 in length.
See, bigger.
Its width. The Falcon is 25.61. The Ghost is 34.2,
See, bigger.
and its
The
height.
out
The
of perspective.
Falcon, exactly the height, and you can definitely see the height difference in this one. The Falcon is 7.8, where the Ghost is 14.5.
Meters or feet?
meters. So they're all in meters. So she is a bigger ship. So yeah, she is a bigger ship.
The Ghost is 14 meters high.
14.5 meters height. Yes.
Which makes
Yep.
sense. Before we were talking to you guys, we Troy and I were talking about how many levels there are in the Ghost, and that makes sense. You'd need quite a lot of height for the amount of levels in the cargo bay and all of those things. Whereas the Falcon seems to all just be spread out, whereas the Ghost is got levels. We've got a few other people putting some chats in. Jason has joined us, Yellow Jason, and oh, Noddy says, "Oh yeah, stats." He's very excited that statistics. He likes his numbers,
I'm glad to make
and
you happy, Monty.
and Jason says, "Small ship is awesome. Has a cloaking device, and that bigger is not necessarily better." Which is what
We'll
we're
get
going to
there.
start to
Yeah.
explore.
Yep.
Okay, so
Agree with that.
I said to you at the beginning that what we were going to talk about was the difference between the two. And there was a comment that Troy had made to me, which was that Hera believes that the Ghost is better than the Falcon, and vice versa. Han believes the Falcon is better than the Ghost. And I thought to myself, I don't recall seeing them on screen talking to each other. However, looking further into that, there has been some interactions which are canon.
Mm.
And I believe most of this is from comics, for example. But I also threw in, did you also know that Hera, because Hera had been to a lot of, we know she was in, you hear her spoken about in Rogue One, you hear Captain Syndulla, blah, blah, blah. You hear it over the speakers in Rogue One. So we know that she was involved at some point, and she goes to a lot of the briefings. I found some images of her listening to Mothma talk about briefings for the rebels, but I didn't realize that she'd also met Luke Skywalker in all of this process as well, not just Han. So I found that fascinating. So at one point there was a briefing where Hera was talking and she says to Luke, "You sound like Kanan." He says, "Is that a good thing?" She goes, "Usually." So it was like kind of sarcastic and funny, which I found really interesting. So she would go to briefings. That's what that image was about. I didn't realize she was also on Hoth.
Ah.
Yes. So Han, Hera, and Leia were out looking for ships and things out in the ice. And so there's a bit of a comic little blurb there where, Leia's she's not doing so well. It looks like her animal's trying to eat. And Han's like, does Her Highness need a break? Which is funny because at that point during Empire, he would call her Her Highness, so it fits. Then the bit that makes this most relevant is just after the Battle of Endor, when everyone was celebrating, the Ewoks were going to eat the stormtroopers. This is how the story goes. They were going to eat the stormtroopers, and Leia was horrified, and she was like, "No, no, no, no! We need to explain to them that there's better ways for you to like better things for you to eat. We have better options. Don't be eating stormtroopers. Don't be like a cannibal kind of thing. Though they're Ewoks, not humans, so they can eat them if they want." Um, like we eat animals, so I guess for them we're animals. Anyway, I digress. So she says to Han, "Can you go to Captain Syndulla's camp, or wherever they are, get some rations so the Ewoks can eat those rather than the stormtroopers?" So Han goes on over to Captain Syndulla and he says, "I need some of your ration sticks." She says, "I'll give you the ration sticks if you say it." He says, "What? I'm not going to say it." She says, "Okay, then give my regards to General Organa." He says, "Fine." And then he goes, "Ugh, fine. The Ghost is a superior ship to the Falcon." And she says, "Wow, we finally agree on something." So, there are interactions between Han and Hera, and a lot of it's around, is the Ghost superior or is the Falcon superior? So that's the background. This is where this came from. And this is where we're up to going, well, is it superior? Is it not? Is it size? Is it shape? Is it function? Is it the people on board? Let's unpack all these. That's what we're doing today, everyone. Strap in, off we go.
Let's do this. So right at the end of that cartoon clip, Leia turns around to Han. She goes, "Han, yes, the Falcon is more superior." To make him feel better. You know,
Oh, that's so
but
nice.
by then, we're talking about end of Return of the Jedi. They were in love, so she has to keep her her boyfriend, happy. But
And
it,
and Hera attended their wedding as well, is my
oh,
understanding.
there you go. There
Yeah,
you go. And here it was at the Battle of Endor. She, that's been canon. She was, Rogue One. She was there, with everything. So I did some stats on the two ships. Now, when it comes to weaponry, I'm sorry, but the Ghosts, hands down. So the Millennium Falcon has got two quad laser cannons and two
yep,
concussion missile launchers, where the Ghost has got one dorsal laser cannon, two forward laser cannons, two rear laser cannons, and two proton torpedo launchers. So it's a bristling ship with weapons.
yep.
And if someone says, "Oh yeah, the rear laser cannon's only there when the Phantom One is it," no, Phantom Two had laser cannons as well. So as long as the secondary ship is docked and it's got the rear laser cannons.
My
Hyperdrive.
understanding my understanding was the front ones were so powerful that the back ones weren't necessary anyway, that the front ones could easily obliterate can't speak today. TIE
Right?
fighters just, gone.
Mm.
Uh
Yeah,
and
they
go up
were.
against a Star Destroyer, whereas then it's not like a little pistol. Like they had a lot of firepower behind it with the Ghost.
Well, we know that they both modified freighters. And then I found out that Ghost has 87 illegal modifications.
Legal or illegal?
Illegal. Illegal modification. 87 of them. So that's
Which I think is
pretty
more
good.
than I think that's more than the Falcon, because the Falcon has modifications, but not that many.
Well, see, the Falcon is a smuggling ship, so it needs to get in there, get out as quick as possible. So when it comes to speed maneuverability, Falcon's got it all over the Ghost. Right, so it's faster. It's got a faster hyperdrive at class point 0.5, where the Ghost has only got a class 2 hyperdrive. In speed in atmosphere, the Millennium Falcon is 1,050 kilometers per hour. The Ghost is 1,025 modified.
So it's even faster.
Well, no, it's slower by
Oh, sorry, I
25.
wasn't listening properly. Okay.
No, um, the crew, they both can crew by one person, but their normal crew, Falcon's got four, the Ghost is three, passengers are both six.
What
They,
my my understanding is that you can fly the Ghost by yourself and use the weaponry without having someone in the the turrets. You don't need someone in the turret. You can actually do that from the main cockpit.
yes, yes. And if you got Chopper with you, the crazy, you know, homicidal
Droid.
droid,
Yeah.
well, he'll plug in and he will control all of the weaponry and, take out all enemy and friends,
That
knowing
works.
him. Yeah. And anybody who's living on the ship, the Falcon can stay, like with consumables, for 2 months, where the Ghost is only 1 month. So, meaning food, rations, everything like that.
I I question that piece of factual information, and
Mm-hmm.
my reason for that is because they're both freighters. The Ghost is larger and it has a huge cargo area. Can you not store rations in the cargo area and last even longer?
Good point. That is a very good point. Yeah, I think they're only looking at the storage without the actual someone's cargo being
Maybe.
opened up and. But that is actually a great point. Yes. Well, yeah. The Ghost has got a bigger cargo area
And
than.
maybe it's also talking about life support because the Ghost is a larger ship
Mm,
overall,
yeah,
that the amount of energy that you would require to maintain the oxygen within the ship if you broke down would be less time than it would be for the Falcon. Perhaps that's the reason behind that as
that's
well.
right. Powering more like stronger weapons, etc. Like we're not saying the quad laser cannons are, they've been upgraded. They're not the standard quad laser cannons either. But yes, yeah, no, I do see there. Now, there's one thing that we haven't spoken about these two ships is
Yeah.
where do you go to the toilet?
Which is something that always bothers me about Star Wars ships. So thank you for bringing that up. I noticed when even back in the Mandalorian days when Bo-Katan landed with her ship and everyone gets on board and we see a cockpit and we see people behind it and we know that they're traveling for a long distance of time. Or say for example, yeah, like you see that and you just think to yourself, well, where do they go to the bathroom? We know we put toilets on planes. So why do we not see them on ships? Or are they hidden strategically where we can't see them just to be polite?
Like Mando's Razor
Yeah.
Crest.
Yes. Because he has one.
Hmm.
We're aware of that.
Yeah, no, I came across something today where there's been different blueprints of the Falcon here and there. It keeps on changing all the time. I think we've got a pretty much standard design.
We've got some comments coming through before we start talking about the design. So Gavin says, "Who wants to have to go to the cargo hold all the time for a snack?" So if like you're hungry, you don't want to have to go to the cargo hold to get your food. You want it, in the kitchen.
Yep.
And Paul says, "Stop calling it a toilet. It's a refresher. We need to remember to keep calling it a refresher because they don't have toilets in Star Wars. They have refreshers." Yes,
I
and
apologize. Refresher.
and Gavin says the Falcon has a refresher. He says toilet, but it's a refresher. And well, we knew the Razor Crest does. I have a picture of the HasLab Razor Crest toilet because that was one of the
Refresher.
things that bothered me. Does it have a yes? Sorry, refresher. Get with the program. So you can see in the top image, it's got you can see the weapons cache, and then the bottom one is the refresher. So it gets hidden behind a wall. And Nick says, "Can I call it a restroom?" You certainly can, but they might get confused and think you're talking about having a nap. So I'm not sure what's the best way to go about doing that. Let's just call it refresher because we're refreshing our bodies. I wonder if refresher does that also mean water closet? Yeah, maybe. Does it also include bathroom, like a shower? Did people shower in Star Wars?
Well, unless they're all stinky and they're used to each other's smell, who knows?
I don't know. Like, that's the other thing you don't see. You
There's
don't
many
see
things in
people.
Star Wars. Star Wars is a big galaxy, and we're still learning a lot about it.
So I did find, we know that we see on the Ghost that there is a kitchen, and there is one on the Falcon. There's a refresher. I've got an image here, which is I don't know if you can see it, but if you can see my mouse, oh wait, if I go onto the screen, this area here that I'm
Hmm.
circling, this purple area, that is the refresher.
Well, there you go.
So you've got your gaming table over here that you can normally see. You often see them being at. Can't remember what all the rest of the rooms are, but you need to go to the bathroom. It's there. So it's conveniently just down from the cockpit. Rush into the toilet, get back out there, and fly the ship. I don't know.
Well, at
Gavin says
least
the skeleton crew had spas. So yeah, so maybe that's why they had the spas, and that's why it's so expensive to go there, is because this is my theory, because no one showers or baths anywhere and they are covered in grime and you have to pay a high price to go to that spa thing because you're disgusting and they need to clean it really well afterwards. There you go. That's my argument.
especially when a hut's been there.
Yeah, gross.
Mm.
Paul says it's also the refreshers, the same as on boats, caravans, all in one closet. Okay. A reefer Asher sounds like a place you find a nice drinks to drink. Or back to tank from Jason. Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
Go to the
I
toilet,
had a
the tank. Ugh. You're swimming in. It's like having a toilet,
so
having at the same time. Oh, I don't want to know if people do that.
part of the reason why we started talking about the ghost is because HasLab has released to at least America, not necessarily Australia, the crowdfunding has the ghost ship models that they put together and sold. And so people who have put their money down and said, yes, I want to purchase one of these, I want to support that, I'll have one, thank you very much. In Australia, still waiting for theirs. However, in America, they've been released. And so we're still waiting for those to come here. And the way that it works is people need the I don't know why. I'm pretty sure Hasbro has enough money to just create things if they want to. But what they do is they want backing. So they want people to financially back and say, yes, I want to purchase this item. And so the first one that came out was the sail barge. What's interesting about that is like it's beautiful. It's very nice looking. It's quite large too. And so we know that it weighs 14 pounds. I don't do math. I don't know what the difference, what 14 pounds is in kilos, but I'm presuming it's heavy enough. And again, it's in inches. What fun is that? You'd think I would have done the translation like there before talking about it, but it's quite large. It's big.
Do you
I
want to
believe.
know in centimeters?
Yes, please.
125.3, 125.34 centimeters long.
So a meter and a quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Width 37.18 roughly,
hmm
and 3.2 height.
What is 14 pounds in kilos?
Oh, oh, now you're pushing me. Let
So
me
it's quite large. That was the first one that came out. Following that, they then brought out the Razor Crest, sorry. And it wasn't as big though, which is what's interesting about the Ghost. So I guess in comparison, the Ghost ship is actually larger, so it makes sense why the model itself is not as large. So with the Razor Crest that HasLab brought out, it was only 26 centimeters high, 76 long, 50 wide, and we already talked about how big the Ghost is. It's I can't read that.
the
71
quote,
by 87 by 33. So
yep.
we're looking at it's oh geez, is it bigger? It's the same. It's wide,
Uh,
it's longer. It's 10 centimeters longer and it's wider. So this is something that some people have gone, I don't know where I'm going to put that. However, in size comparison, it's quite large. I'm assuming it matches the size of what you people who had those large Millennium Falcons. I'm guessing.
mm-mm, mm-mm. Nope.
No, bigger,
So,
smaller.
all right, 87.5 long. The Falcon is only 79 long.
Okay. So
Uh,
it's bigger than the Falcon that people have.
yep. So the width
Ah,
is the Ghost is 71, the Falcon is 58,
okay.
and the height, as you said, the Ghost is 33, the Falcon is 25. So yes, it dwarfs
So
the
it's
Millimeter
bigger than the Falcon. It's bigger than the Razor Crest. It's not longer than the sail barge,
or
but
Red Tall,
right. So the sail barge is larger, but it's bigger than the Razor Crest.
but
Okay, and it's bigger than the Falcon.
yeah, but it's wider than the
And
Salva.
Jason says, and the price is over the top. Perhaps. So it's one of those things, isn't it? So I'm curious because whilst we see the ghost in like the Millennium Falcon, we see that everywhere. It's in the cartoons, it's in the movies, it's everywhere. We see the Millennium Falcon all the time. It is known as a Star Wars ship. Like you could show people who don't like Star Wars, and they'll be like, "Isn't that Star Wars?" Like they recognize that ship, the Millennium Falcon, but not necessarily people recognize the ghost. I'm curious, is this just something that was appealing to people who like the Rebels? Because we also see the ghost in some of the TV series, but it's in the background. It's not a
Yeah.
central figure. And I wonder if you could afford it, would you have tried to buy the ghost? People that we're chatting to at the moment, is that something that you would
Mhm.
want at your house, regardless of the price? We know the price is ridiculous, which is what Jason said. I'm wondering, just curious, if this is something people want, and where would you put it if you had it? So I'm assuming, Troy, that you're keen on having the ghost.
Yes,
Where are we going to put it?
that's a good question. So I found out that Zing is not getting until the 28th of February
Okay.
now. In saying that, I am going to spend probably more money on something greater than the Ghost to actually put it in, and it's a coffee table, glass coffee table. Now, if you look online, you see, oh, people put the Lego Millennium
Yep.
Falcon in a coffee table, but this is the Ghost. The coffee table's got to have to be larger than the Ghost for it to be in.
Mhm.
So I've been looking around, and I cannot find anything that will hold the Ghost. It might hold it in maybe height, but maybe not length, or length but not height. You know, it's
Yeah,
so
so
it's going to
custom.
be. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can
Well,
you build?
me, I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a computer geek.
So no.
Well,
You can
I
give it
can
a
just
go.
do it myself.
So what you're saying is you can go online and hire someone. That's what you can do. That's your skill set.
Mhm. Yep. Hire online, find the right person for the job, and go. And here's my cash.
So one of the points that Gavin made here is the Ghost would be easier to fly than the Falcon, with a central cockpit as opposed to a side cockpit. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
How does and I suppose maybe I'm going to say maybe. Here's my devil advocate point of view. So each of the ships, both of them, have a sensor array. The Ghost also has a sensor scrambler. I'm presuming the Falcon does as well, and so that they can fly under the radar or become unknown to people around. And so, what my question is when we drive a car, generally we need vision. So we have our rear vision mirrors, we have our side mirrors, we make sure we can see out, look over our shoulder. They're all the things that we're taught to do when we're driving. We use our peripheral vision. We look ahead to see what other people are doing so that we can drive safely on the road. However, the Falcon and the Ghost have panels of information that give them 360 views of what's going on around them. So, are there ships coming from behind? Are there ships coming elsewhere? Is on your panel in front of you. So, just because you're at the side of the ship doesn't mean you're not aware of what's going on below, above, and to the left, because you can see it on your panel. So if you start thinking about, how you can play those electronic games, cheers, I'm an old woman. You know how you can play like video games which are more like they're dogfights where you're in the ship
Simulation.
and
Yeah.
yeah, the simulation games when you're in them and you have the panels in front of you because you need to know what's behind you. It's similar to
Mhm.
that. So does it make a difference where
It,
your
it,
cockpit is?
so when I was younger, I used to play TIE Fighter,
Yeah.
X-Wing games. Now, yes, that is true. The radar would help you, knowing something's
Hmm.
coming up behind you, if it's good, bad, you know, but the visual is still helpful. So
Okay.
in the next wing, you've got a bit more visual. So you turn your head, you can look around. In a TIE fighter, I think they put a viewport up like behind it. But in saying that, I think in squadrons, you're just there. So it's
Hmm.
really hard, like, because you're only seeing in front of you and you have to use your radar all the time. So
Hmm.
in I say yes in the radar and all that. The visual, actual using your peripheral vision or your vision,
Hmm.
I'd say I have to agree the Ghost would be better because you're up higher and you've got a bit more plain field of visual, where the Falcon's got a bit more restricted. But yeah, of course you use your sensors and all that to your advantage.
Jason says just use the force.
Smugglers don't have the Force.
Gavin says you can't fully rely on sensors and readouts. I like to think in the Star Wars universe that you can, that they have better technology than we do.
Unless you're, the Falcon and the Ghost is coming up on you, and she's got her sensors on, which Hera would do that to Han anyway, because she likes to shit stir him, so he wouldn't know that she's there.
We were talking about the HasLab ship. There's two things that was noted to me about them, and one was, do I have the image? Oh, it's further on. Hang on a second. One was the fact that in the actual ghost ship, and excuse my image that I have here. It's a very confusing, possibly to look at unless you look at the details. But basically, what the reason why I pulled this up is because you can see there's 4 bunk rooms. You've got Sabine's, Hera's, Kanan's, and Zeb's, which he shares with Ezra. So there was 4 bedrooms on or bunk rooms on the Ghost. However, my understanding is that the HasLab version has 2 bedrooms, so it's missing the other 2 because, well, it's a model and they weren't able to make it to scale to that extent. And there was a second part that was missing. What was the other part? It was
The cargo area. It's only got a
yes,
tiny little bit at the front, but not the, to my knowledge, the big cargo area at the back or something. If I'm
the
wrong.
other difference as well. So apart from that, is that the Phantom is different. So our understanding of the Phantom, when you watch when you watch Star Wars Rebels, they all get in the Phantom. Everyone's got a seat. It seats lots of people, and at some points they went on little missions with them. Even though it's a shuttle, the idea is you shuttle from the ship to the planet or wherever you need to go without having to take the Ghost down to the planet to dock in. You just take the shuttle and you stay in orbit. Right? Sounds simple enough. But in the series, the ship can house a few people for a period of time, and it has done in some of the episodes. However, my understanding is that the HasLab version is a 1 seat for the Phantom, which is a bit
Yeah.
disappointing because that's not our experience of
Yeah, both
how the
Phantom
ship
1
works.
and 2 could do that, house more than, numerous people. But we know from Hasbro themselves, like they brought out the U-wing and you could put one figure in it. Now, the U-wing is a troop carrier.
Oh,
So, yeah, so it's very common. And if you think of the Millennium Falcon back in, the 70s and 80s, you could only put 2 people in the cockpit, where the Legacy version, you can actually finally put 4 in.
right.
So it's got to do with scaling. If they did it the proper scaling, it'd be way too expensive and way too big
Ah,
to fit 3 and 3/4 inch figures. Where,
that's
but
that may be true.
yeah,
However, I stand and support the comments that have been made by some of the people who we've been chatting with, which is it's very expensive
huh?
already. So
Yeah,
could they give us use that money to make it a little bit more perfect?
yes, but we know companies,
I
unfortunately.
know.
I know if they did a great job on the sail barge, like that was fantastic. Razor Crest, great. Um, then I haven't got the ghost yet, so I can't really comment on that. And then we've got the fourth one in August, the Cantina. So
Right.
yeah, it's and that I I looked at the measurements today on that one. Oof, if I'm going to get this glass casing, it's going to be even have to be bigger. Um, because I got the deluxe version. Because what it was, they offered 2 versions, a
Okay.
standard one and a deluxe one, and then the deluxe one was like to encase it as the full cantina, where the standard version was like half a cantina was
Oh,
missing,
okay.
so you can just look in from the side. And but if I'm going to go in, I'm going to go all in. So the full version, the cantina is 82.5 meters long, 74.7 centimeters wide, and uh,
Need to go
18
in my
centimeters
backyard.
long. Yeah, I know. I was thinking I was actually in the cantina, about to shoot Greedo. So yeah, that's going to be even wider than the Ghost.
Right. Well, oh, okay. Is anyone
Yeah,
here planning on getting the cantina, and were you aware of the cantina? We got a couple of comments apart from yourself, of course, Troy. There's a I was curious about the people we were chatting to. So
yeah.
Noddy says the 1024 is 126 meters long, 160 feet wide, 108 feet high. He looked it up on Wikipedia. So I think what he's trying to say is he'd like HasLab to do a 10T4, which I think would be cool. If that was the case, I'd be keen on getting that. And Jason has talked about the ties have a front top and small view at the back. Oh, that's right, because they've got the glass, the round, all guts, no shields. That's the scary thing. I don't think I'd want to be a TIE fighter pilot. Sounds awful. And Noddy says that the 10T4 costs 1.2 million credits.
Hmm.
Nick says Republic credits, they're no good here. I need something more. I'm I would like to know who pays for them. But anyway, where this money comes from. But we know in the Star Wars universe that there are people got lots of money. They go to those Canto Bite and things like that, I suppose.
Yeah, they like to gamble. Like I'm playing Star Wars Outlaws, and if you're running out of money because you're selling stuff, you go to and play Sabak and try to get
Ah,
some money. Or on the what's those big animals that was in Canto Bight? The something races, the stuff
Fathiers.
Favia races. So I don't bet on the Favias. I go in. I do the Sabak. Sabak.
Does that mean you're learning to play Sabak?
I am. I am.
Nice.
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
Figuring it out finally.
We should have Sabak tournaments at our Skyforce meetings.
Ooh, that would be great. Yes, we just
Yes.
had to find the buck. Well, cards.
You
Or
can buy them.
oh, here we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, we've played Sabak at Skyforce before. I can't remember who had them, but someone had the cards. So we should
Oh,
look into that.
I
So
might have
someone
a look at them when I go to Star Wars celebrations. Then.
good idea. Yes. Some interesting facts. So the ghost is named for its not inability, for its ability to travel past Imperial sensors without detection. Hence, ghost, which kind of makes sense. I think everything else that you have said I have, except for information I have is that Paul Urquhart, people just have names that are really difficult to pronounce. So he's the author or a co-author of one of the books, which is called Star Wars: The Essential Guide to Warfare. He has spoken about the details around the ghost and where the idea came from and the basis for it. And so he says that basically the schematic, because originally these conversations were had because there was no, and there still isn't really a very good floor plan for the ghost ship. There's so I think I put up some images earlier, but they're just people, fans who've put them together with an idea of this is possibly what it looks like from what we've seen in the show or any
Yeah.
information that we've gathered. And still, there's no schematics. Like you can go online and look up the Millennium Falcon, and boom, there it is. You can see where everything is, what size it is, exactly where everything inside it is, without having to look up a fan made thing. Even on StarWars.com, you can get that information. However, you can't get the schematics so much for the ghost. Oh, sorry. While we were talking, Gavin's written, "Can if you're going to play Sabat, can you get the card flip, the cheat thing?" What we do have, the only official thing that had came out, apart from there's some books, in the books that have been released, was this schematic, and it's all written in Orobesh, which we have the translation of, but it doesn't give you a lot of information. It's very basic. That was the first thing that had been provided for the schematics for the ghost. That's all it is. It tells you the size, and then you have, in some cross section books kind of thing, you just have some really basic information. You can look it up on Wikipedia, but again, you're really limited to what there is. And what is my point? Why am I saying all this? And then we've got the HasLab thing. But back when we had even less information, what they said was that the Ghost is based on the Boeing B-17.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so to help you
Yeah.
out,
Yep.
here is the Boeing B-17.
Hmm.
I see some similarities. You've got the cockpit at the front. There is some depth to it. There's some breadth to it. You, I kind of see this is the basic. Maybe it's certainly not that similar. It's got some
I see the
similarities.
gun turret on the top. Yeah, as you said, the cockpit, but then there's a lower gun at the chin, which
Mhm.
it has, and then it's got the gun turret at the back on the tail.
Mhm.
I do see, yeah, I see the similarities.
Yes.
Um, yeah, until
So there you
one
go.
of the until they actually bring out another cross section book and actually do it proper cross sections to the
Yeah,
Ghost.
they need to.
What you found, which is actually what I found too, whoever did that one did a not bad job because that's what I image of it from the cartoon series, Rebels.
Yeah. So the question came down to which ship is better. So I wanted to point out that the Falcon not only was involved in destroying one Death Star, but two Death Stars. What does the Ghost have in comparison?
Well, nothing like that. It has destroyed
Does
a
anyone?
it's destroyed a light Imperial cruiser, and it's destroyed a Gazanti class cruiser that had kyber crystal on it, but also it in the process destroyed two other Gazantis, like a convoy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, if you separate the crew,
Mm-hmm.
you've got the warmongering chopper who's killed many people. But we won't. Do we want to go there? Good
Well,
old. Chopper.
okay. So the count that I'm aware of is that Chopper's killed 1,000,000. Or is it 100,000? I can't remember what it is. He has a lot of death counts because of the ships that he's blown up, or yeah, the what he has done. However, does that count in comparison to the Death Star, where we would have killed, where millions of people would have died, workers, when the Falcon?
Or even Luke, in his X-wing. So
So we're gonna, yeah, but we're not comparing the X-wing to, we're not, that's not weighing
yeah.
in. It's the Falcon versus, and did the Falcon do the job or did the X-wing? So whilst the Falcon helped with the blowing up of the Death Star, it wasn't the final kill. Does it get to count that one?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely Death Star 2, but yeah, Death Star 1. Yeah, it's here or there. But if he hadn't, Luke would have been shot down. So
I'm sure the Ghost has done plenty of things as reconnaissance and doing the
that's the thing.
background stuff to support other people doing what they need to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Chopper has killed tens of thousands of Imperials.
Yes. Noddy says it was Luke and Wedge who took down the Death Stars, not the Falcon. So
It,
then, in this
oh,
sense, the Ghost has taken more out than the Falcon has.
well, when the Death Star 2, Wedge took out the regulator,
Hmm.
and then the Falcon took out the main um, what the main power supply for the Death Star 2. So that was a joint effort. And then when you look at Death Star 1, it was a joint effort between Luke and Han. So Han protected Luke, and Luke took the final shot. So yeah.
But the Falcon didn't take the shot. Gavin asked the question, what about navigation systems on both ships? Are they the same? Are they equal? I'll let
Okay.
you think about that
You
for a
might have
second,
stumped me
because
there. You might have stumped me there. I might not have looked that up.
well, you
Navigation.
can have a think about that for a second, because I want to introduce another concept, another, I guess, point of view. So this is the Falcon that we know of from the Solo movies. And so, as you know, it has a slightly different look to the front of it. It has a different sensor array, and I guess it also looks cleaner and nicer than what we see in the later movies. And particularly when you start looking at what it looked like when it was a hunk of junk in the sequels. So, in comparison, the Ghost, on the other hand, I'm presuming Hera has kept in immaculate condition, and perhaps if you compare them now, the Falcon's got nothing anyway. I
Well,
mean,
I don't-
like if I think about it, and I think back to the earlier on in the sequels, and they had those when the Kanju Club and that they turned up on the ship, and they had the what do they call those creatures? that were taking over the ship, the Rathtars.
That's
Rathtars? Yeah.
all.
Yeah, Rathtars. Like if your ship's overcome by, although it was a different ship, wasn't it?
Yeah, it only grabbed
Yeah, he
the.
had a different ship.
But yeah, it's yeah. So the navigacomputer of the Millennium Falcon, as we
Yes.
know, L3, L3 is her brains in there, and
Yes.
there's actually what I read. There's actually three brains. Three.
I read that too, but I don't know who they are.
Yeah, there's so there's a backed up one and all that. And 3PO actually says, he goes, he has pretty much an argument with, the navigacomputer. Now I read today that Chopper actually has an argument with the navigacomputer for the Ghost. But as
Oh,
someone but they say, is it the arrogance of the navigacomputer or is it Chopper being Chopper?
I think that the ships, both of them, the Ghost and the Millennium Falcon, have a droid, which is the droid in a sense of the Navi computer has its own
Yeah.
personality,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
it is then piloting the ship. We know that with the Millennium Falcon, we had L3 who then joins with it. I don't know who the third one is. So that would mean that the Ghost, for example, also has the same level of Navi computer, and you put Chopper linked in with it, you've got extra skills there. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming that both of them can navigate themselves. There's some level of AI technology, which we know I absolutely hate, which we're going to get into in a second, is they're a bit of an AI guessing comp.
Mm, sure.
Do you want me to so have we decided? Do we have a winner? Is it the Ghost or the Falcon, or are we still sitting on the fence and we don't know which one is better? If you had to choose, what would you
My
choose?
opinion is if they were up against each other in a dog like
Oh,
shootout,
yeah.
the Ghost would win because of its weaponry and all that. If it was, if we're talking about maneuverability, speed, and all that, the Falcon's got it over the Ghost easily.
Hmm.
Would outrun it. It would, etc., etc. So apples and pears, I say apples and pears, and that's why I think Hera and Han always competed with each other about which was the better ship because it's technically they are two different ships in a lot of ways. But I
And
want
they
to see
had
the comments say that'd be
And
great.
that yeah, and they had different purposes. So Han, like you said earlier, was more of a smuggling ship. So the modifications were put for speed, for stealth, and for hiding and for storing of the things that he needed to smuggle. Like they were the things that were the main purpose of that. Whereas the Ghost spent a lot of time being a military ship, but also a home.
Yes.
They also then had to move things from place to place because they were helping the rebellion by moving goods around and helping with the fight. So there was a different purpose to either ship, which is why the modifications were different and why there was such a high level of weaponry, I believe, on the Ghost. And I wonder if it comes down to the pilot.
Oh, that's getting into a dangerous area. However,
I know.
I don't want to go there.
Who do I think is a better pilot? I don't
I
know the
can't,
answer to
but you
that.
can that one.
I think Han is bolder and luckier. That's what
Yep.
I've got. I think Hera is more strategic. She's very skilled and resourceful.
He should be a politician. That
So
was,
where are we at? We're sitting on the fence. They're both
that
great.
was a good answer, Deb. Excellent.
I want to, like you said, I want to know what everyone else thinks. So Nick says the
Mm.
Ghost would be the winner. And Noddy acknowledges that the three brains kind of concept was meant to be in Legends, although I think I read it in canon as well. But which is why with all the three droids arguing is why they had so many problems all the time on the Falcon, which makes some sense if AI goes crazy. So I wanted to do we started this last year, which was the AI guessing competition. So what I've got is an image and you have to tell me what is sorry, I just laugh at these images. Gavin says artificial idiocy. That's a good description for AI. Nick says Hera is Obi-Wan Kenobi's wife, which is why she's got a better ship than Han. Nice call. And yeah, anyway, I'm sure everyone gets that. So what I want you to do, and this is for everyone who's here, have a look at the picture. I want you to tell me who is the character, the Star Wars character that I put in the chat GP thing question. Then I said they were doing something with something. Uh yeah, and so what is this character doing? What have they got and what are they trying to do? This one I don't think is that hard. So if everyone wants to have a bit of a guess as to what we're looking at, Troy, feel free to guess what you can see in this
Oh,
picture.
I'd like the group to have a go
You like
first.
them? Have a guess? Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'm
that's
actually
my
having a bit of trouble with it.
oh, that's so funny. You're like, I'm not gonna guess that wrong. Gavin says Leia cooking eggs, and Paul says cooking eggs. Paul says character not sure. So I'm gonna say that so far we've hit 2 and 3. We just need to work out who is it that's cooking eggs. While you're thinking about that one, I'm going to give you the second image because I thought for fun we'll do two. This might help you with the first image or not. Paul says he was thinking Leia, but the hair was wrong. Correct. It's not Leia. Neither is this one. So what's
Okay.
this character doing and what with? Who is this character? You're not going to be able to tell because it's AI. And AI doesn't have a clue who people are in Star Wars. In fact, I don't know if I was saying it last time, but I remember I was reading, I think it was in the last one we were talking about Skeleton Crew, and it was talking about the fact that I think it was that Luke or it might have been Kylo Ren or something was the one that Vader was talking to at some point. It was just like, no, that's impossible. It's just terrible. Gavin, I believe if you've spelt the name incorrectly, but you've got, yeah, that's correct. Hera cooking eggs is the first one.
Okay.
That is what AI came up with for Hera. So instead of having green skin, she's got green hair. Well done, AI. Excellent job. Good work on top of it, as always. Noddy says sushi, no. Noddy says Mara, no. And let's see if we can work out what the next one is. There's a bit of theme going on, so it shouldn't take you too long to work it out. Nick says Mara cooking food. It's not Mara. Cooking is correct. Food is not. I mean, it is food, but what specific type of food?
Can I ask, is the character Jin?
No,
Okay.
no. Don't
Oh,
be
oh,
fooled by what they look
oh,
like because it sometimes doesn't make it
oh.
obvious.
I think I know who the character is.
Who?
When you have the green hair and it's red hair, red skin, Ahsoka.
No.
Oh, damn. Fuck that.
I like your logical thinking, but no, it's the hair is actually not bad for this particular character. It's not too far wrong. It's not Mara cooking something. It's cooking, but it's not Mara. And yeah, it's definitely something, but the answer is not something. While you guys are guessing, let's talk about what's coming up. So we've already talked about celebrations happening this year. There is a Sydney or New South Wales Skyforce meeting happening on the 28th of February. So that'll be happening in Ingleburn. We've got Collecticon coming up in New South Wales in March. I don't believe we have anything anymore in Queensland. We have no more volunteers in that state. So if you're from that state, I apologise. So there's no events happening there at all. And same with Melbourne. At the moment, we don't have any events planned at this point. I believe the AusTrack have some events on, and that some of the Star Wars fans will be going to those events. Paul Rocket says cooking a tauntaun. That's disturbing. Yes, but what part of a tauntaun?
I'm gonna go out on a limb here.
Yeah?
I'm picking red hair again, so I'm the only person who's got sort of mousy hair. Oh no, she's more blonde, isn't she? Mon Mothma.
No. It's
Okay.
not Syndulla cooking meat. It is a type of, well, I'll accept meat. Why not? Cooking meat. But who's the character? There's a theme. We've been looking at the ghost. Come on, people. Who could this possibly be? Who's
Sabine.
green? Yeah, it's Sabine. Sabine cooking steak. There you go. That's exactly what you thought of when you thought of Sabine cooking steak. That image there. Uh, 10 points to, I think it was Gavin who got it correct for Hera cooking eggs. Gavin seems to be really good at this. I'm wondering whether or not Gavin is actually a robot.
No,
Nick says
Gavin
Sabine
was
cooking steak,
robot. He'd
correct.
be getting it wrong, like the rest of us. So maybe we're all the robots.
Nah, Gavin's a robot. Uh, David says the eyes are the wrong way. Yeah, no, look, all of the images I find in AI are just weird, just weird.
Yeah, we won't go back
Bizarre.
to that trivia day, Deb, at the last
I,
Star meeting when it
I,
comes to AI. Nope.
I just find I'm just amused by AI. I think that it possibly has some good things, maybe not so much good things, and it just amuses me, which is why we do that. Yeah, it does have manga eyes, and maybe it's because it's the type of AI that I'm using that ends up looking that way. But these ones do look cute, so I like this style of AI pictures, and they also fail, so it makes me laugh until they can get it right. I'm going to keep picking on them and making fun of them. Yes, Noddy says AI can't get proportion right. They can't even get facts straight. I don't think they're going to get proportion straight if they can't get facts.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where I just go, I'm sorry, you got me on a rant now. Where I just go, Star Wars is a very popular pop culture subject. There is hundreds of things on the internet written about Star Wars. There's Wikipedia, for goodness sakes, and StarWars.com, which have factual information about Star Wars. What I don't understand is how AI can't grab that information and come up with something decent. That's the bit that I don't get. There's images, there's information, and I don't understand why yeah, why it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. It worries me that it can't pull that information correctly. Nick says AI is the virus. And Gavin says if he was a robot, he'd be one of those wind up ones from the 60s that walks. Yeah.
Gavin, will you be calling out a warning?
Warning,
Warning.
warning, Will Robinson.
See, I just put in Google Sabine, just Sabine, right,
Yeah.
to see what came up,
Hmm.
and it said the Sabines, which is an ancient tribe. Second one,
Oh,
Sabine Wren,
right.
and then some Sabine Schmitz, a German professor. Now,
Oh,
she was the first one was a tribe, and it was called the Sabines. But the first person's
sure it
name,
wasn't a band. It sounds like a name of a band.
no, Alpine region of central Italy. So yeah,
Ah.
but the first, and then on the side, Sabine Wren. Like, if AI couldn't pick that up, as
Mm.
you said, and that was in
Yep.
Google, it was
Yeah, yeah.
straight. So yeah,
Gavin says AI can't get it right because there's no intelligence in artificial intelligence.
it's
Because
just
remember
hard.
earlier he called it artificial idiocy.
More like a
Ah,
like.
gosh. Okay, so we were talking about Star Wars spaceships. I don't know if this is what everyone else was coming here to listen to or have a discussion about. Did we come with AI is Donald Trump? Jeez, Nick. Did we come up with a conclusion? Are we satisfied? And did we prove that the Ghost is better? Because that's my preference.
No, that's. Uh,
Oh, you want to debate me on this one?
uh,
I
I,
feel as
as I said before, I can't actually compare the two of them because yes, they're
apples and
both
oranges.
they're both life rated, but they are, as you said yourself, they are built differently for different roles.
Yes, with different
Uh,
pilots, different purposes. Yes,
yeah,
and but we do know now that they're around the same time. Oh, David said it has been a wonderful ramble, and I
being
think
entertaining.
I'll take that.
Yep. No, at least it's entertaining ramble, compared to boring ramble.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, if anyone has, we've rambled, we've given our, I suppose what we perhaps next time what we might do is do it like a debate where I turn up and say, I think this is better and this is my rationale for it. Maybe we might do some debating next time and I'll prove that mine's better than whatever Troy's being given. And I'll have slave one and he will not have a B Wing. He'll have
Oh, no, no, no.
what's the shitty ship?
Or how about this? Imperial Star Destroyer versus a Mon Calamari Star Cruiser.
Oh, can I have the Star Destroyer?
Yes, because I like my MC80s.
All
Or
right.
home.
Okay. So maybe
Yeah.
next time we'll do a bit of a debate and we'll see how many of you we can convince to be on our side and which ship is better. So maybe we'll do that next time and actually verse each other. Go, yes, but my ship has. What has yours got? We'll do
Yeah.
some prep work. I think that would be fun. All right, guys, and then you can all jump in and if we tell you what we might do is we might give you the heads up, and by all means do your research as well. If you're on the Deb team, then you can support me. You don't need to support Troy; he'll be fine. Anyway,
I'm still new around the block. Only a couple of guys, only a couple of the people know me, so I need the support guys. You know,
oh,
Mon Cala all the way. Don't worry, guys. We're not going to bore you with spaceships all the time. I promise you that.
maybe we'll see. All right, so we've got some last follow-up comments, and what I was saying was, if you have further debate or further information that you know about the Falcon or the Ghost, and you pop it in the comments and tell us which one you prefer, or if you want to keep bitching about AI, I don't mind either. Whatever way, feel free to keep writing when we've finished chatting. So Gavin says, even with the statistics, I still prefer the Falcon. There you go. Nick says the toy fair should be coming soon and show some new Star Wars toys. That's cool. Gavin says talk about the so-called armor of the stormtroopers. That's what he would like to see us talk about. So what we might do is we can even do a bit of a debate on stormtroopers versus clone troopers.
Oh yes, very nice. Yes, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so a little bit of this might be a bit of fun. So I'm looking
Oh
forward to
yeah.
that. And we will see you next month if we don't see you at an event. You might be attending an event. If you see someone from Star Walking, say hello. And otherwise, we will be back on the first Sunday of March to either talk ships or troopers. We'll have a bit of a discussion offline, and we'll let you know what we're going to talk about, so we can come forward with our arguments. Nail this. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, everyone else, for
Thank you.
participating.
See
May the
everyone.
force be with you.
Bye.
Bye now.